So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to VizConnect, connecting you with the art of data visualization and storytelling. So, VizConnect is all about how we can go ahead and connect individuals specifically with respect to data visualization and storytelling. So far, we have hosted close to 42 sessions, close to 30 plus speakers, 1,300 subscribers on our YouTube page. I will go ahead and share the details for that. We have a LinkedIn community in which you can go ahead, join the group and connect with each other. And this has been possible with the help of my amazing team, Divya, Adam, Lucius, Judith, and Iram, plus the support of all the presenters and the Tableau community members, Zen Masters, came on this platform and share their knowledge. So go ahead, subscribe to our YouTube page, some amazing content waiting for you. Join our LinkedIn group by the name of VizConnect, connect with each other and start learning from each other. Today, I also wanted to talk about IronViz, right? So due to this pandemic, we are rethinking how should we go ahead and do IronViz. So this year, IronViz, what we are doing, we have gone ahead and announced a virtual IronViz, right, with respect to the feeder competition, which we are doing. So just wanted to share some of the details about it. So this year's qualifier theme is health and wellness. So you have 4th August until you have to go ahead and submit your visualization. So what's the process for it? Just go ahead, download Tableau desktop, create a Tableau public profile, get the data and submit your viz. And if you need some help with respect to thinking about how you should get started, then you should watch our last session on VizConnect, which was on why you should go ahead and participate on IronViz, right? It's there in our YouTube page. Let's get to our today's speaker, right? So happy to introduce Ratnesh Pandey. So Ratnesh is a database designer who is helping others to get rid of ineffective visualization since last 12 years. He has been contributing in the field of data storytelling, design thinking, and advertising. Currently, Ratnesh is working with Infoceps and based out of Singapore. He's also the host of Complex Bets podcast. And I think for me, the fun fact about Ratnesh is that he has a daughter by the name of Vartika, and she is using Tableau. So Ratnesh, over to you.
Thank you, Sagar. Thanks for this introduction. Okay, so let me start sharing my screen. Let me know when it's up.
Yes, we can see your screen. Go ahead.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining this session. Today we are going to talk about data storytelling. So, why it is important, how we could do that. So now I'll hand it over to Papa.
Thanks, Vartika, for handing over to me. So again, thanks, Sagar, for this introduction. And before we proceed further with this session, I'd like to introduce myself. Let me figure out how I can go up. So just to add, as Sagar mentioned, since last 11 plus years, I'm contributing to this field of storytelling and design thinking and advertising. And currently I am a Tableau Public feature author, and I have a couple of voteds. Currently I'm working as a database consultant with Infoceps. Infoceps is a data solution company recognized by Gartner among the top 50 in the world. So as an organization, Infoceps is actually enabling our customers to build, deploy, and support analytical systems that productively drive better decisions. And it's been almost 3 years. I am in love with Tableau and learning with this amazing, great community. And apart from this, Tableau and my professional life, whenever I have time, I love doing paintings and sketchings, and I love listening to music. And again, I am a sports loving person. I love playing football, and badminton and cricket. So that's all about me. So now coming to the topic. So someone has rightly said that we see the world not as it is, but as we are. So it's all about the mindset. It's all about how we perceive the information which is being presented to you. So now on to perceiving the information. Can we tell that how many people out of all these people who have joined this call are actually feeling sleepy? So to know the answer, it would take a simple magic, the magic of art and science, which we are going to talk about in this session. So we can tell the number of people feeling sleepy if we have the camera that shows me all of those faces and I can identify the sleepy heads. It's pretty much simple, right? So the bottom line is when I have the data, I apply the science to it to discover actionable data. And once we have that actionable data, we apply the art of visualization to get the insight out of it. So this session is all about the same magic, the magic that happens when art and science of data storytelling come together. So I'll try to narrate a story about the data storytelling itself. I'll try to keep it very easy so that we should not be bombarded with those heavy terms that people use. So this session is not going to be very technical. I'm just trying to make it very light so that we can understand in a form of story what data storytelling itself is. So we are going to talk about what is the need of storytelling, what is the overall process involved, and how we can understand the user in a better way throughout this entire process. And then at the end of this session, through a live example, I'll try to explain some more different aspects of data storytelling. Okay, so the magic always begins with the data. But a lot of times the information is really scattered all over and the people don't look for it, don't know about it. And the ones who know want to derive the value out of that data. Just as we all are just living, going about our mundane stuff without knowing the true meaning and joy of our lives, right? So it requires a special skill and ability to see beyond what is visible to us and utilize that to find the very meaning of life. So in so many ways, extracting this insight from data is the modern day nirvana. Okay, so we all can see, but very few of us can perceive. You can see all those numbers, but can you see what those numbers are telling you? So finding insight from the data needs that special vision, a kind of third eye, one that can see what the other two regular eyes cannot, right? So this entire process is pretty much straightforward and simple. We have the data, we do visual mapping, we convert that raw data into some visualization using the appropriate visualization based upon the data relationships. And then once that data is visualized, the visual gets transferred. And once that is being transferred visually, then we get insight, and that helps to us to get some knowledge out of data, which is helping us in decision making, whether it's personal decision making or it's our business decision making. So visualizing data or the data visualization is the third eye that shows the meaning behind the numbers, the unseen relationships, and the beautiful patterns in the existence. So much like the proverbial yogic third eye that can see beyond what is obvious to us. So what the regular two eyes do, they just capture the information. But this third eye which we are talking about is it processes the data and it seeks insight. So these insights are what make the data more meaningful, right? So you get the bigger picture from fragmented data pockets. And you can see once you have that ability and once you have visualized your data in effective way, then you can see how all the things are interconnected. How even a simple thing can cause most impact. A simple change of 0.1 to 0.11 can create a massive impact on the business in the longer run. So organizations these days, they are really looking for some experts who bring in that third eye perspective and find these impactful, insightful, actionable items from the mountain of data at their disposal. So to become a data storyteller or become an expert data storyteller, you need to have a unique combination of creative and analytical skills. You require good business understanding with the knowledge of different BI tools, how they work, what are their capabilities and their limitations. And to represent that insight effectively, you need to understand the cognitive science with UI and UX skills. So now, even though you have all these skills, which I just mentioned, even if you have all those skills, but still we rely on data to explain or to explore. So these are the two basic questions which encompass everything when it comes to finding insight from the data. So, or finding the meaning of life, right? So, and often these solutions are within, inside any organization or inside us respectively, while we are looking everywhere else. So let's see what are the two various ways of seeing or perceiving the reality. So first way which we are going to talk about is what I call willful living, the explanatory way. So this is the path of becoming something extraordinary, which starts with a simple question like what, who, how, and when. You ask these questions on your data, and then you convert that data into some visualization, and then you create the actionable insight out of it. And now the second way of looking at this is, the second approach, what I call is the willful seeing, is the exploratory way. So here the user analyzes an existing visualization to form their questions. And again, they refer back to the Viz with those questions in mind, and they refer back to the Viz and they just ask or get their insights and take appropriate action based upon that data. Okay, so these are some of the most preferred ways of gaining the insight, the exploratory way or the explanatory way. So in this entire process, where we are talking about this data storytelling, where does the customer context comes in? So just like we live with family, we work with our customers, whether it's internal or external. So in both our personal life and professional work, one needs to visualize, understand, and then effectively communicate data at hand to help each other navigate through this journey and make it meaningful. So when one starts visualizing and narrating the right insight to the customer, that's when you build trust and help grow the business, not as their business, but as your own business. So in our professional lives, we have many internal and external customers. So the customer can be us, it can be anyone, it can be the talent we want to hire, or it can be the employee we want to retain. It can be the person whom we are finally selling a product or a service. So basically, it's someone who has something you want and want him to part with it, either their talent, their time, or their money. But again, this is what we are talking about, the customers, but each and every different customer have their own requirement, their own need. So they all have different kind of needs. So let's try to look at their need from a different perspective. So sometimes the requirement is to organize and centralize something. And at the other times, the need is to distribute and democratize. So let's have a look at some images. The first image which we have here is the royal four-course meal at a wedding. So soup, starter, main course, dessert. Each course is served one after the other. Specific utensils for eating specific thing. And sometimes you have to go through a kind of practice dinner, rehearsal dinner before the actual wedding dinner. You eat exactly what chef has cooked for you. And the only change which you can do is either leave something altogether or just add a little salt and pepper to it. So doesn't it sound familiar in a data and analytics setup? This is what we call standardization with central control, kind of the enterprise level requirement where it may have the real complex user interactions or interfaces where the data models are very rigid and costly to change. So now come to this another image, which is a regular Indian thali. Sweet, spicy, rice, vegetable, chapati, chutney, papad, a melange of flavors. So everything is served simultaneously. And what do you do? What do you start with? What do you mix? What do you wait till last? Probably I wait for the dessert. And each individual mixes and eats in a different order of their own choice. So here the proportions will vary, the factors will change. So what I choose to ingest is very unique to me. although all of us have served the same thali, but how I eat decide the taste that I get from my choices meal. So this is what it's like the ultimate in customizations, and this is what we call as customization with peripheral control. So it's like something self-service kind of requirement where the data discovery and exploration happens. You are free to explore the way you want to explore. So what works for you? Standardization with central control or the customization with peripheral control? Which is a better way? So understanding your customer, understanding their business and their need is like finding your preference between a 4-course meal and an Indian thali. So once you start seeing the patterns, the picture becomes really clear on which table you are sitting at. But again, whatever we are talking here is still something which is more about the technology. So these days, we are so focused on technology platforms that we forget that each dashboard is a digital product, which has to be functional. By functional, we mean it has to be viable and feasible. But again, even though it's functional, but yet it has to be desirable. Yes, the desire, we are talking about the desire to know more about your business, to know more about your performance, desire to learn more, desire to have more than whatever you have today. So if it is only functional, then it may fail to meet the customer needs. But failing here at this stage, the desirable part, is the primary reason that you have really poor user adoption to your dashboards. And that's the reason behind why no one is using your dashboards. So we need to focus on resolving really common user issues to create dashboards or the data stories that people really want to use. So it is really important that we need to understand that before being too technical, that before one is a customer, they are a human being, right? So understanding the human being is equally crucial as a step before understanding the customer or the technology requirement. So how we can do that? So let me explain it a very simple way. So just imagine a simple number chart with positive and negative axis. And imagine this 0 as what we call the law of jungle, where the small fish are eaten by the big ones and the big ones by the biggest. But these species coexist, which means I'm allowed to be territorial, I'm allowed to grow and dominate unless I encroach someone else's ground, which is the basic animal instinct, right? A perfect positive would be a total harmony, an empathetic world where everyone cares for everyone. The opposite will be a jungle raj where the land gets his land share and others are just at the land's mercy. So if I can outgrow this animal instinct, I can start thinking about others. I can imagine others' fear. I can start empathizing with the users or the customers. So if I can walk towards sympathy, I'm outgrowing the beast within. And if I grow towards the negative side and think that only I have to survive, then I start exploiting the others. Then we start thinking that only whatever I'm thinking as a solution is the correct solution, which may not be relevant to the end user. But still we are delivering that. So this is what every brand and every customer is looking for. First, they are looking for the food for survival, which is an organization's revenue. Second is the desire for greater good for society, for mankind, and for this environment at large. See, the market doesn't play favorite. Every business has equal strengths, equal weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what businesses need is a perfect balance of both these different aspects for a better world. So the step of which we are talking here is all about collaboration. The more you collaborate, the more you understand the customer or the end user. This storytelling process in isolation is not going to help you. It is a collaborative exercise where everybody has to contribute. Then only you would be able to communicate the right story with the right data in hand. And one of the most important aspects of working with data is how you communicate what the data tells you, what the story your data brings. So some of the greatest business decisions in history were really data driven. And believe me, some of the worst business decisions in history were also data-driven. Let me share you one quick example of Coke. This story is, I think, based around 1980s, when the rise of Pepsi was really threatening Coke's dominance in this soft drink category. So Coke took a data-driven approach to this problem. They formulated new Coke and found in all their tests across the country that it beats Pepsi really hands down. So armed with this conclusive data, the company built their future on new Coke. But unfortunately, the part of this story of new Coke was really missing. This new Coke was extremely sweet, so it would easily win a test where the customer is drinking just a single sip. But it was really, really distasteful in a full cup or a bottle. So additionally, the testers failed to measure the emotional attachment the customers had with the old flavor of Coke, which they had grown up with as a children. So without that context for the test data, the fact that customers did not like the new Coke was lost on the decision makers. So after a disastrous launch, the company had to desperately pivot back to their original formula. So again, they took a data-driven approach, but some part of data was missing. So in the next example, we are going to talk about what was missing in that use case of Coke and Pepsi. So this storytelling can really affect how people view the same data in different ways and take different takeaways from those visualizations. Let me quickly share you one live example. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, Ratnesh, please go ahead.
Okay. So this is one example. This visualization is being done using the same data set which I have used in this visualization. So everything is same. The backend structure is completely same. It's all the appearance which is different. So why? Because the objective of having these two dashboards is completely different. The target audience which we have for these two different dashboards is different, even though they all have the same underlying data. So the data storytelling can affect how people view the same data in different ways. So here we are going to tell stories about a single data in this example, where in 3 different ways, and which will lead us towards 3 different conclusions. So here is the data which we are going to use, which is a monthly revenue data of a company with 4 products, product A, B, C, and D. So since there are no obvious conclusions to draw from this raw data, so what I'm going to do is to apply this special power which we have and convert this into a visualization. So now from the raw data, we have some visualization which is helping me to see the overall high level trend of all those 4 products. So now we are going to tell you some stories using this data, which will cover stories that lie. Then we'll talk about stories that actually mislead you. And then at the end of these stories, we'll see that stories which inform. And once we are done with all these 3 different stories, we'll talk about some do's and don'ts. So let me begin. First, I'm going to tell you a story about this data, which is a great news by purposefully lying. So here the story goes. My revenue is growing quickly, with December jumping significantly over November. You can see this in our chart. So this growth was led by more than 1,000% jump in revenue for product B. And if this trend continues, we are expecting overall revenue to exceed more than $100,000 in January for the first time, which is a great news for us as a team. So why is this story good? I don't think so it is a good story. It's a blunt, it's a purposeful lie. I have used some very common tricks in data storytelling to trick you into reading more than what exactly is there. Especially what I have done, I have manipulated this scale. So when looking at a chart, you are used to compare the height of all these bars to determine the relative size. So by having the y-axis start at a random value instead of 0, I change the relative size to make it seem like there is a significant growth where it is not. And what is the next wrong thing which I have done? I have done cherry picking of data. So I have selected only a few data pointers that make my case. In this case, I picked only the growth rate of product D instead of considering the full height and width of the data, which really conveys some different story. So now, so based upon this cherry pick data, I have jumped to the conclusion based on the fact that there is no clear logical basis to arrive on that conclusion, right? So why would the decision which I have made last June have affected revenue in this December? So in this case, I was purposefully lying, and it is completely misleading to the user. So let's look at the next story. Here I'm going to tell you a story about our data that is true somehow, but it is again misleading. So here the overall revenue for all those products have been fairly even. There is a notable exception of big jump in revenue for product D in the month of December, which jumped over $1,000 month over month. So however, a single product's revenue dominates all other, that is product C. Okay, so here the product C comprises more than the 50% of total revenue, which means that the revenue which is coming from product C is larger than the all three different products which we have. So why is this story good? The story is true, but which is a good start, by the way. And by using a relative scale in the first chart, the significant deviation of product D becomes really clear. Also, this story attempts to break down the overall trend with some insight into the composition of products, but somehow it fails. So why it is really bad? So let me give you a few pointers. So I've again made some common mistakes in communicating the data, which make it really easy for you to be misguided. So I haven't labeled the axis of my charts. In the first chart, the y-axis is the growth rate, while in the pie chart, it is the revenue in the month of December. So the two charts, again, they switch colors, like which color is representing which product. So this color here is presenting product D in the first chart, whereas it is representing the product C in the second chart. So if you read this dashboard very quickly and you are not putting some stress, you might think that the fast growing product is the largest product, which is not true. And I mentioned that the product B grew over more than 1,000%, but not giving the relevant context to it. For example, 1,000% growth from $1 is $11, a change of hardly $10. But 1,000% growth from $100 is around $1,100, which is a change of $1,000. So the point is, we should avoid using relative measurements without providing the proper context. And finally, the biggest mistake which I have done here is I have used a pie or donut chart, which many people in data visualization think is a big mistake itself. So instead of pie chart, you can use some alternates like the stack bar chart, which is going to consume less real estate compared to this one, and will give whatever insights we are getting out of this, you're going to get that insight too from the stack bar chart. So let's finally come to the story, which is the true story of our data. And by doing this, I'll try to highlight how bad those two previous stories were. So overall, the revenue is trending downwards. You can see this in the dotted line. And there is a clear peak in the summer and it dips in spring and fall. And based upon some prior years of data, the expected range highlights that it is kind of a seasonal trend. Okay. And hidden under this overall trend, there's a shift in revenue composition. So product A has been declining over the period of time, while product C has been increasing. And in December, you can see that there's a significant jump in the product C revenue, which is resulting for the first time in this entire month, the product C revenue is higher than product A. So this story actually follows a lot of best practices of data storytelling. It starts with the big picture. So you should frame all your data communication within a bigger picture first. So in this case, the story first states that the overall revenue is downwards, which looks seasonal. And by highlighting the expected range with linear trend of the overall revenue in the first chart, it is really easier to grasp a larger pattern which is hidden inside your data. And then by identifying the two important drivers here of the overall revenue, which is product A and product C, and describing the relationship, and an insight that was otherwise hidden by the top chart becomes really clear by looking at this bottom. And you may say that why this is not kind of cherry picking. So this is really different from cherry picking because we are highlighting meaningful and important drivers of data. And most importantly, in this case, I let the data tell the story instead of trying to tell a story with the data. So this is an important point, because if you try to impose a story to your data, there are chances you are going to fail to tell the entire story. So now let's look at the last point. Why is this story bad? So overall, I'm pretty much happy with this small story. Like most honest and straightforward data stories, the conclusion is not nearly as clear as when we are lying or misleading. So this is because the real world scenarios or the real world data really gives you a single one clear message. So you will need to rely on your expertise and your audience judgment to reach the conclusions. So now we have reviewed good stories and bad stories all using the same data. So since you will be telling stories about your own data, so let's review some of the best practices around communicating your insights. So the important aspect is what you should do while telling story. So you should always start with the bigger picture. So frame all your data communication within a bigger picture, which really makes everything easier for your audience to understand and gives a strong start to your story. So giving a strong start is really important, because that initial few seconds, actually they only decide how your user is going to take it further. And the more context you provide, both visually and verbally, the less likely your audience will be to jump to mistaken conclusions. So always you should provide context to your data. And definitely you should highlight the hidden insights. That's what the primary objective of having a data story. So many of those most important insights in your data will be hidden below the surface. So highlight these and contrast them with the overall metrics to make up powerful stories. So that gives an extra impact and gives you the real insights about your data, how you are doing as a business, how you are doing as a human being. And with this, there are certain responsibilities which we have as a data storyteller. So let's talk about some do not do points. So never manipulate the scale, and be clear about the scale of data and the units, and you should be aware about the charts and the visualization which you are going to use and how you have plotted the axis, because it is better to over communicate sometimes the context about your charts than have the audience misunderstand something. So again, next point is don't cherry pick data. Include the full width and breadth of your data in your communications, not just the data points that help make your case. So don't push for whatever hypothesis you have in your mind. Let the data tell the story itself. You just have to support it through the correct and right visualization. And be consistent. Use the colors, font, and the visual element consistently across all the statements and visualizations in your story. Doing so creates a natural language of your data, one that your audience can learn and easily understand. So it has to be very much consistent. Like we saw in the case 3, where the same color was representing some different product in first visualization, and then it was representing something else in the second. So it may lead your user towards misleading interpretations of it. Okay, and the most important thing is you should never lie with your data. Do not try to mislead your user. So that's the really important point. So now, being in a data and analytics service organization, we always talk about how we help our customers to take effective business decisions. But when it comes to making decisions for ourselves, our personal lives, how often do we trust data? How often we look for data? Have we ever thought what KPIs and what data pointers do we have as an individual to take an informed data-driven decision for our own lives? So similar to visualizing business dashboard, the need is also to visualize our success parameter, a format that can help us to take effective decisions. And that will really help us to find the insight, to appreciate the smallest of the things. And this will really enable us to see hope in most hopeless of the situation, especially during the tough times which we all are living these days. It is really important for you to have that ability which helps to see the beauty in the smallest of the events which is happening around you, whether it's your business, whether it's your personal life. So stop for a moment and think that we all are integral part of this great universal power, which means we all have this third eye and our thoughts can come true. But not all thoughts, only those which are focused, well defined, and most importantly, well visualized. So I want to leave with a message that the need for visualizing our lives and our data are really similar. Both makes our life easier, better, and more meaningful. So hopefully today you will go back and visualize your own nirvana state. And before we move to the Q&A section, so on behalf of InfoSubs, I would like to share a small guide which is definitely going to help you to become a better data storyteller. So feel free to hit that link and download the guide. So thank you. That's all from my side.
Okay, thank you, Ratnesh. It was a great session.
Thank you,
Okay,
Sagar.
so yeah, we have a couple of questions. I think first question is about when you're talking about do's and don'ts, right? And you mentioned over there about the big picture. What exactly do you mean about the big picture over there?
Okay. So it's like based upon your users. Say, for example, if I am a company who is running on a global level, okay. So, for example, if I'm looking at the revenue numbers, so it has to be the biggest number, which is most important to me. So, for example, the hierarchy of data. If you have the hierarchy, then the first top level of the information has to go first. Okay. So, if you consider the real state of a dashboard, for example, the topmost left top part is my key real estate. So whatever the most important information is, it has to go there. So the high level hierarchy, say the global level number. So if you take the example of COVID dashboards, so you should be able to understand, to set the context of the pandemic, you should have a global level number. So what is the number of deaths, or what is the number of cases at global level, which will help you to set the benchmark, like how your country is doing with respect to that global number. So showing the global number is the bigger picture, which will set the entire context. Okay. So with respect to this scale or this volume, how my country is doing. So that will give you a comparatively better understanding of your performance. So that's what we mean by the start with the big picture. I hope that example works.
Perfect. Thank you. And the next question by Charles is that what is your best wish and why? Also, an example of Tableau authors you follow for storytelling.
Okay. Okay. I think that the answer to that question is really plural. There are so many people out there whom I'm following, and again, the first question, which was like, which one is my favorite dashboard? So let me try to figure it out. See, I have all those dashboards which I have done. I think I really love all of them. I treat them as my child. Some of them has provided me a great learning opportunity, and some of them were really good from visual aspect. But this one is which I did for IronQuest, is going to be my favorite for a long time, because this dashboard is something which was like the first dashboard which my daughter did with collaboration. We did it together. So this is something which I really like most. It's not that complex, but still it gives the overall high picture of considering that big question that was there in my daughter's mind. How many people we have in our family and where they live. So that answers her question in a very simple and effective way. So that's why this is going to be my favorite Viz. But again, I'm not saying that all of those other dashboards are not my favorite. And again, I really love the work all those Zen masters are doing. I follow all those public ambassadors or all those social ambassadors, what they are doing, and I really admire this work. And that's the best part about this Tableau community. People are really helpful. So throughout your Tableau learning journey, you can see there are a lot of people who have helped you somewhere in your entire path. So I cannot name any single person. So there are so many.
Perfect. And I think this is a question from my end, Ratnesh. I think you have worked in financial sector a lot, right? And what I have seen, like most of the customers, I go ahead and when we are talking about their dashboard, I see a lot of cross tabs in their dashboard, right? Because we are financial people and we just love cross tabs and tables over there. What's your advice
Right.
to them, right? Like how they can go ahead and use the power of data visualization and storytelling?
See, I think this is the problem with the banking domain itself. So most of the users, so personally, I'm telling it from my personal experience, maybe it is wrong for others and not true completely. So the banking user, they are they have a huge or great experience with Excel sheets. So they really love to see all those numbers throughout their desktop or throughout their dashboards. So the numbers is their primary what you call the interest to see on the dashboard. So again, I'll not blame them for this kind of thing. So going from a cross tab to certain visualization is a journey which will not be you cannot have that immediately. It will take some time. So first you have to propose a lot of alternate versions to your cross tabs or to your visualization or the analysis which you have. Okay, so first you have to make them interested to see all those different visualizations. So they are in love with those numbers because there are different factors. Sometimes they want to get their dashboard printed. So that's why they need all those numbers, labels on so that everything is getting printed properly. So it may be something else. There might be a few other reasons as well. But again, to keep that interest active in their mindset, you need to slowly provide them the taste of visualization. Okay, so again, banking domain is not that easy to understand. There are so many complex scenarios and calculations involved. But again, to get rid of all those cross steps, it will take some time. You have to provide them that slow taste that this is something which we can have in this kind of alternate way. So once that is done, so that journey will take some time. So I think my only advice would be to have patience. You need to be proactive in that case. You have to provide so many different alternate versions to your analysis. Like this can be represented in that way, that way. So you have to go with your user, go to your user and show them different variety of visualizations to get rid of all those cross tabs. So this is what I am doing in my project, and that is really helping. For example, if I am allowed, let me show this. So again, this was one of the use case where we can see how a certain organization is working or performing during this pandemic. So again, for any organization, these are the four main pillars where we can see all those different parameters and how we are performing against all these different, say, the main pillars of my organization, how my people are doing, how my different facilities are performing, how the security incidents or breaches are going on, and how my customers are being impacted. So that's how we show them the high level analysis. So this is what I said, start with the bigger picture. So this is giving you the very high level understanding of entire organization across these 4 pillars. So now, once you have that high level understanding how it is going on, then based upon your priority and requirement, you will drill down further and see the detail level analysis. And based upon your user level and user requirement, you will again filter and slice and dice the data. So that's what I was trying to convey using the bigger picture. Always start with the bigger picture. Okay. So we have to slowly make them aware of the alternate visualization available and how the alternate. So it's the responsibility is on us as well to visualize our data in different ways, which can be helpful for the users. So they are not going to straight away convert from Excel to a Tableau dashboard or any other technology dashboard. So that transition has to be slow so that they can adjust themselves. Because I have most of the users which I have, they are 50 plus, and telling them to use something new in terms of technology and appearance is really difficult because the transition is not that easy from those user perspective. Right? So we need to keep in mind that what kind of background our user have.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And I think one thing which I have seen what our customers do is that they create two versions of the dashboard, right? One would be more like a cross-tab one, and then
Right.
it would be more like I have gone ahead and applied best practice of data visualization and storytelling, and I will give the both to the business, right? Whatever it helps you out to go ahead and understand your business, just go ahead and use it, right? And then talking about, okay, this is what value and how much time you will save when you're going ahead and using something which better data visualization principles and things like that. And that's right. It's a journey, right? Once have to go ahead and understand, and then you will slowly and steadily adapt to it. Yeah.
Correct. So to add on your point, Sagar, so most of the dashboards, especially I think if I have to quote my example, my experience, so most of the dashboards which we used to have were really viable and feasible, but they were not desirable. We had more than 400 dashboard built in our platform, but the user adoption was really poor. Why? Because some of the time we were using the same interface at global level, at country level, at business function levels. So if a global level user is looking at all different countries or regions available, but the same interface is being utilized by a country level user, he can see only single bar, a single dot in the map. So it's not being relevant information is not being available to that specific user. So again, so that's the problem. They are coming back to us saying, why this dashboard is not relevant to me. This is not giving any relevant detail to me which can be actionable for me. So we need to understand the customer, their requirement, their problem statement. So same formula is not going to help all the hierarchy or across the globe. So it has to be desirable. Unless it is desirable, even though it is viable and feasible, it is not going to help. People are not going to refer to your dashboard. So you need to understand that human angle, what kind of question they are trying to look at, what kind of solution they are looking for. So everything has to be properly taken care of. So it's not only about tools, capability, and limitation. So sometimes a simple bar chart can help a customer. Sometimes even a complex kind of visualization is not sufficient to help them. So that's what you have to understand, the user first, customer first.
Right. And I think just to talk about on that, so I used to work in Walt Disney before joining Tableau. And over there, my manager used to tell me when we were working on a particular project on Tableau, right? Don't think it just like a normal dashboard, right? You have to think about you're creating a product for your business user. And that's the impact of it, right? Once you go ahead and create it with respect to his requirement, definitely he will go ahead and use it, right?
Correct. Correct. So you can take a simple example. If you are hungry and you're looking for some suggestions where you can go out for dinner. So you just Google it. But Google doesn't show you all those algorithm which it is applying in backend, right? It doesn't show you filter distance, filter restaurant, filter food preference. It automatically based upon your preference which you have already set, and it is with them. So all those backend stuff is not public to you, but again, they are showing you the relevant information only. Like this restaurant is 5 kilometers away, or in 3 kilometer radius, or 100 meters away. So they are just giving you the answer. They are not making your life complex, like select this, select that, filter this, filter that. So that they are just answering your simple question, where I can go out for dinner. And they are giving you the answers. So this restaurant 10 meters away, this restaurant 100 meters away. So this is what kind of experience people are looking for. So whatever user, all those business users which we have, whether it's analytical, operational, or strategic dashboard kind of requirement which we are talking about, all those users are also have access to all these different applications, right? The iOS application, the Android application. And look at how seamless they are. All those applications, the experience that users are getting through all these applications is the what they are looking in all those dashboards. So if you make dashboard very complex, it's not going to attract them. So it has to be very simple. The insight, getting insight out of a data, this entire process should be very simple. So that's that's the experience which we are trying to provide through this data storytelling to the customers.
Perfect. And I think we have just one last question from Gopal. He's asking role of descriptive statistics in storytelling.
Come again?
Role of descriptive statistics in storytelling.
Okay, see, there could be many arguments to this question. Like, for example, if I have to tell you some examples, say for example, some of the team leads are using very descriptive PowerPoint templates to their monthly portfolio review meetings. Okay, and being a Tableau developer, you went there and say that, okay, I can help you to get this automated, and I'll help you to get rid of this kind of manual effort. So you tried giving them a visualization, which is kind of helping them to get rid of all those descriptive text and monthly effort or repetitive tasks. So now the other point is, if you are going too descriptive in your approach in the analytics part, then it could be like, why I'm going back in my journey to the descriptive model, because we started with a description or a kind of very text heavy analysis. We started moving to visualizations, and now again from visualization you are taking me back to those heavy textual and descriptive analysis. So there has to be a balance. There are different tools available like ThoughtSpot, DataRobot, which is helping you for those kind of analysis. But again, there has to be certain balance. Like we discussed in one of our Viz, where you can see, so this, remember this zero, there has to be balance between the positive and negative. So I'll not go into too technical aspect, because see, frankly speaking, I'm not very technical guy. I'm a designer, but again, I'm surviving somehow in Tableau. But again, the bottom line is there has to be a balance. So whatever analysis we are doing should not be very text heavy, should not be very visual. There has to be certain balance. So everything has to support everything. So then the end product will have a balance as a package. It will be a balance output.
Perfect. Thank you. And I think for the last 5 minutes, I just want to talk about, are you participating in INVIS this year? And what's your strategy? Have you started working on your dashboard? Can you talk about that?
Okay, I think that's a good question, Sagar. So I haven't started yet, but again, I have the plans to do that, because somehow I was pretty much occupied in my personal work or professional work, so I couldn't. So I'm still at the phase where I'm struggling to get my story identified. So once I have, so again, as I mentioned, the process is pretty much simple. First, I need to understand what I am going to show there. The topic is health and wellness. So based upon this, I'll try to have some idea in my mind, and based upon those ideas, I'll try to convert them into a wireframe. So to create the wireframe, I use pencil, paper, sketch, all those things. And then once that is done, I'll try to go and build that within Tableau. But again, I think this is really a good platform. And this first time I participated, but I was really new to Tableau and this entire community 3 years back. So I did publish my Einviz on Twitter, but unfortunately I was not able to register on the portal. So it was not a valid entry. But this time I'm really committed to do something and I'll definitely participate in it. And the best part, as they say in their promotional emails, either you win or you learn. So there is no losing at all. So, and there's no harm in doing something for analysts because the overall experience, what you're going to get is really good. And you are going to learn a lot from what others are doing and from what kind of stories you should. The entire process is a learning process. So again, Sagar, to answer that in a single line, I still haven't prepared that, but yes, I have plans to participate.
Perfect. Just remember 4th August is the last date. So just do
Yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah. But thank you, Ratnesh, for your time today. Thank you to Vartika also to going ahead and talking to our community. I think it was a great session. Thank you for telling us about the nirvana of storytelling in data visualization. Thank you for this. So
Thank you, Sagar.
thank you everyone for joining VizConnect. We'll see you next week. Take care of yourself, be safe, and enjoy your weekend. Bye. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, to join this session. Thank you.